Vegas, shine your light on me.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. Join award-winning host Dale Davidson as he interviews the most remarkable people you'll find in the entertainment capital of the world. You'll meet entertainers, sports figures, newsmakers, community and business leaders, and people just like you with stories that'll touch your heart. Now, here's Dale Davidson.
Welcome. We're going to have some fun today. I'm Dale Davidson, and I'm the host of this program, Las Vegas Tonight, brought to you each and every week at this time by us. We so appreciate your tuning in each and every week. We're seen around the world now. We're on 175 or so stations on the Walk TV. We're on 60 or 70 stations on IBN, the International Broadcast Network. We're on ACTV, Asian Culture Television, throughout Asia. And, of course, Facebook and you name it, Roku, everything in the world. So anyway, please feel free to contact us anytime. We can always use your support. My cell phone number, and you're happy, I'm happy to get a call from you, is 702-480-3989, 702-480-3989. Call me up and tell me anything you want, including I love your show. And you're going to love this one because we have a great guest in store for you. His name is Pat Branch. Pat is in town for the National Finals Rodeo, which goes on every year at this time, and boy, it's really changed this town. Pat, great to meet you.
It's good to meet you,
Yeah,
Dale.
thank
you for having me.
Yeah, and we thank our friend Susan Stafford, who's been on the show several times and runs a ministry called Wheel of Grace, and you're on the board with her, huh?
I'm on the Wheel of Grace board, and as you know, Susan hosted was the first hostess of Wheel of Fortune for 7 years before Vanna White. There was a BV before Vanna, and she was making gazillions of dollars and being paid very, very well at that time in the 70s.
Yeah.
And I asked her one time, I said, "Why'd you quit?" She said, "Because I wasn't happy. The money didn't bring me the happiness that I thought it would."
Yes.
And I see that true with a lot of things.
That's interesting. You know the rodeo world very well, the cowboy world. You've been a pastor. You're an evangelist. You run the Cowboy Church here during NFR. Give us a little background on the National Finals Rodeo and why it's here in Las Vegas and what it's done for our city.
Well, the National Finals Rodeo actually started about 1959. The first one was held in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
And they took the top 15 cowboys, the money winners, and each dollar counted towards a point. The top 15 in each event, which was bareback bronc riding, saddle bronc riding, calf roping, steer wrestling, bull riding, and team roping. Each one in that event, or if you were good enough to try and win all around, you could, like if you were a bronc rider and a calf roper, go for the all around. But it was held in Dallas, Texas first, and then it was moved to Los Angeles, California for a while, and then it went to Oklahoma City for a while, and then it came to Las Vegas. It's been here for pretty good while. I almost want to say 20 years or will be.
I think it's real close.
Yeah, real close.
Yeah, to 20 years.
But the money's a lot better here. I mean, if you win one go-round here, you're winning probably as much as you made almost all year long.
Is that right?
I think that, golly, it pays, I think in the steer wrestling, it pays 8 places starting at for one go-round. I believe, I'm not quite sure, starting at $67,000 for win that go-round, and then down further. They split it according to.
Right.
And so there's a lot of money involved. You could conceivably, 2 years ago, Tyson Durfee, who is a solid, committed Christian, he always wears a pink shirt when he contests, because of the breast cancer awareness. It's called Tough Enough to Wear Pink.
Yeah.
Tyson Durfee came in 14th place in the calf roping, and he won so much money at the national finals that he wound up winning the world championship.
Is that
Gold
right?
buckle. Same
Wow.
thing
Wow.
with Alan Bach, who was a team roper. Alan won the world 4 times in team roping, and Alan, I believe, might even come in last place or 12th. I'm not sure. This was years ago. He came in his last gold buckle. He won enough at the national finals to put him in the lead.
Wow.
And win the world.
Yeah.
And so this is a big deal. This pays good money. This is what you're shooting for. If you can come in even at last place, and you don't have to win first in every go round. And if you do win a go round, they present a buckle, I think, at the South Point every night for just the go round winners,
right?
Because there's 10 go rounds.
Okay.
But conceivably, if you came in and you won third one night, first one night, second one night, fourth one night, and you win the average in there, you can win the world.
Wow.
And that's happening.
Just because you have that many points.
Because you won that much money, which is points.
Yeah.
You know?
It's phenomenal. NFR has meant so much to this town. As you said, about 20 years ago or so, we were able to secure, we as a city were able to secure NFR. And it's been at the Thomas and Mack, I think, every year since then. Although maybe they're going to move it, huh?
I've heard that rumor because 2 years ago they were going to move it here or move it. I don't know. As far as moving it out of the city, they said somebody said, well, they're moving the T-Mobile Arena, and then somebody said they're building a new deal. Now, Thomas and Mack is a good place for it to be.
Yeah.
And Las Vegas is really it's not that hard to get around for a big city, except during rush hour on the interstate.
That's it. Particularly on Friday when they're coming up from L.A., that becomes impossible.
Man, that's a nightmare.
But NFR has meant an awful lot to this town. I remember when I first got here, which is more than 20 years ago now, I wandered into one of the hotels thinking I was going to invite some of my relatives to come and stay with us for Christmas. And I said, this was maybe October, and I said, do I need to secure a reservation for Christmas time? And they said, well, we're only going to be 2/3 empty, so you can probably walk right in. Before NFR was here, that was the downtime for Las Vegas. And they would tear up the carpets and put down new carpets and paint the rooms and put new furniture in and drapes. And the shows went dark, and everybody took a couple of weeks off. But this is one of the biggest conventions we have now.
Well, and I believe it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the contract was up here in Vegas, and they were other cities were bidding, and I believe one of them, I don't know whether Dallas bid it or not, because Dallas has a couple of big rodeos there, the American, several others, but Vegas is a place of a lot of hotels, too, in convenient location. Dallas, you're going to have to go there to get there. You can't walk down the Strip and get there. You can't take the shuttles and other things. And so I do know that Kissimmee, Florida had bid on it. And the reason that Kissimmee bid on it is rodeo is big in Florida. Well, the Seminole Nation wanted to have it was either Kissimmee, there's good rodeo there, or at the Seminole Nation, maybe Ocala, I don't know.
Yeah, I remember reading about this.
And so they wanted the national finals there, which is good. They ought to bid on it. But here's the problem. I've been down there to Kissimmee, Orlando and those places.
Right.
They don't have the convenience of the hotels right there. They don't have the transportation that Vegas does.
Yes.
And I've been coming here for about 20 years or so. And in Vegas, it is a place where people come and tourists come.
Right.
I hope they don't move it for Vegas, because I only live 500 miles north, 486 miles from the Flying J
approximately
Craig Road to Kimberly, Idaho.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I keep a mileage log. I know exactly how far it is.
That's wonderful.
And it's 12 miles from there to Susan's house.
There you go.
So, and then plus I can stay with Susan over at her
that's
place,
nice.
being my daughter and my wife. And
Yeah, that's
so
wonderful.
Vegas is convenient.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is Vegas, contrary to a lot of people say, you're going down there to gamble. I'm not coming down here to gamble.
Right.
I'm coming down here. Now, I didn't start the Elevation Sunday service or the Cowboy Church service. I had been on the board with the Fellowship of Christian Cowboys for years, which is pretty well almost going by the wayside. And they were actually the first ones to come down here or come up from Colorado and do that. And I've spoken at the National Finals Rodeo Cowboy Church when the place, I can't even remember the name of it, but it was it's Hooters now, but it was another hotel.
Right. Yeah.
And so we used to do a church service there and do a nightly fellowship there.
Wow.
And we had a lot of fun. And now Charlie Kingsbury and Strand Smith, and Charlie's been the circuit champ in Colorado in calf roping. Strand Smith from Childress, Texas, was world's champion calf roper, and he's done modeling for the Wrangler commercials. And he and his sisters, they ain't no ugly in Strand Smith family. I mean, even his dogs are pretty. Yeah,
That's great.
I mean, they're just good looking people.
Yeah, that's great.
But they started it, and I hate to say this, but you know, when one ministry gets successful, another sees it, comes in, and so there got to be almost an enviousness or jealousy.
You see that in the Christian community,
and so,
which is a shame.
Charlie Kingsbury and Strand said, let's just do our own, no politics. We're not going to do meetings. We're going to do this once a year, the first Sunday for the National Finals Rodeo. Right. They started off at the Orleans. I think the first guy they had speak might have been Rocket Ishmael, who played with the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh yeah, sure.
They've had Jay Schrader come speak. Who won the Super Bowl with Washington. Chad Hennings, who was with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And I happen to know all these guys because I worked with Pro Athletes Outreach Ministry for 30 years. And so they had a lot of people come in. We've had Mike Huckabee come in.
Oh, really?
Speak.
Okay.
We've had John Hagee's son speak. James Dobson. But now last 2 or 3 years, we're just pretty much going back to using Cowboys and having them give the testimony.
Yes.
This year, J.R. Vazane spoke. J.R. Was from Wyoming. He was a bronc rider. He got his back broke at a rodeo in Pasadena, California. Solid, committed Christian, he and his wife. Young guy, he's I think 24, 25.
Right.
But he's in a wheelchair. He's still in rehab. He gave his testimony. And then, now I'm not going to say this for sure, but Charlie Daniels was supposed to be here. And Charlie sent a tape in or something, said, sorry I couldn't be there. I'm having a procedure done, and I wasn't going to ask him what it is. At our age, we usually know. And no, I don't want to look inside me when somebody, after colonoscopy, they said, would you like to see the tape? No, man.
I'm sorry to hear that you taped it.
What, is this going to be on YouTube or what? When somebody says, I just want to look inside myself. No, you don't, man. There ain't nothing in there.
Inside Pat Branch.
Yeah, you're full of it, man. That's why they tell you get a cleanse.
There you go.
But anyway, I wouldn't say we. My job at the Elevation Sunday service, I give out the flyers at the back when they come back out. I hold the boxes there and collect the money.
There you
and
go.
I try and run off, but they usually tackle me if I do.
That's great. That's
and then
great.
of course, they don't take up an offering, but they say if you want to give and support this, because they don't do ministry. For his meetings all year long.
Yeah.
Strand and Charlie do this once a year and put all they have into it.
That's
for the
wonderful.
contestants. And now there's one at the Corey Ross does one at the South Point. Somebody else does one at I want to say Mandalay Bay.
Okay.
And then they do one, I think, at the convention center just for the vendors.
Oh, okay.
So, when
and Cowboy Christmas afterwards.
Yeah,
where
the
there's
Cowboy Christmas.
Yeah, which goes on at the convention center, right?
And so people say, you're down there to gamble. Oh, no, I'm down here for ministry. I really am.
Yeah.
Now, if the Lord wants to, I have to tell this story.
Yeah, hold on to the thought. It's going to be a good one, but we need to take a brief break. We'll be back with Pat Branch, who has a terrific story. So stick around.
A potential audience of more than 50 million people is reached every week by Las Vegas Tonight. To keep the important message of Christ's love on the air, we need your prayers and financial blessings. Please send your tax-deductible gift to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. For a donation of $25 or more, we'll send you a copy of Dale Davidson's new book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints. You'll love these inspiring stories of Las Vegas Christians who are changing the world. Or donate to the ministry, or order Dale's book by going to vegassaints.org. That's vegassaints.org. Or call us today at 702-480-3989. That's 480-3989. God bless you.
Hello, I'm Dale Davidson. I hope you're enjoying Las Vegas Tonight. The guests we've had on the program are wonderful examples of Christians who take seriously Christ's command to love one another. In addition to the hundreds of television stations across the United States now carrying our show, we have been presented with the outstanding opportunity to bring these inspiring stories to people around the world. An international satellite network in the Russian and Ukrainian languages has asked us to provide them with episodes to be broadcast to millions. To make a gift to support this very special effort, please send your check or money order to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. To use your credit or debit card, call 702-480-3989. Thank you, and God bless you. Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson, with a terrific guest, Pat Branch, who's here for the National Finals Rodeo, doing ministry. And during the break, when we went away to make a little bit of money here, you've talked about your photography, and you consider yourself an amateur, but you've won a lot of awards doing this, and particularly with military photos. Tell us about that.
Correct. I used to shoot pictures when I was in Vietnam. I was a helicopter crew chief and gunner with 48th Assault Helicopter Company, Joker gunships, and we did a lot of operations into Laos. We weren't ever in Laos, but yeah, right.
It was a secret.
It was a secret.
Yeah.
And I worked with 5th Special Forces some and other units. But the last 3 years at the Twin Falls County Fair, I've won the Photojournalism Award in the People's Choice Award. And what I like to shoot are pictures that are moving, not the sunsets, not the little birds or dog puppies, but I like to shoot something that brings emotion. And the first one I shot was a picture of Adam J. Davis, and Adam Davis was killed in Afghanistan by a sniper. He was in the Army, and I had a little pocket camera. It was just a little Sony pocket camera. And so I took a picture of it, and the command sergeant major of the Idaho National Guard is kneeling down in front of his mother, presenting the flag, and his mother and dad were separated at that time, and the General LaFrance is presenting the flag to his dad, and his mother has a grimace on her face. My wife said it was the most moving picture she's ever seen, and the mother is dressed in black and sitting there, and she's got this just grimace on her face. The next one I shot, Dan Brown. Dan Brown was killed in Afghanistan, and his father, Dan Brown Sr., there's a bronze statue of him in Jerome, Idaho, at a baseball park there, and he is reaching down, grabbing the hand of a young Afghan boy or Iraqi boy.
Right.
And the story behind that photo was at his, when they were dedicating the statue, was that there was a Sergeant Galatia that was there, and Dan Brown was an E5, a sergeant, and so was Sergeant Galatia. And so they had come across an IED, and Dan Brown and Sergeant Galatia got in an argument, and Dan Brown said, "I'm going to go check it out." And Sergeant Galatia said, "No, you're not. I am." And so they got in an argument, and Sergeant Galatia told Dan Brown, he said, "You've got 4 weeks left in country. You've got 2 little girls. I think they were less than a year old or a year old that you've never seen." He had never seen them. I remember that. And so they had to be less than a year old. And he said, "I'm going to check it out." And Dan Brown said, "No, I'm checking it." So they flipped the coin. Dan Brown won. He went over there. The IED went off and killed him and 6 other men.
Wow.
So at the dedication of the statue, Sergeant Galatia had ridden his motorcycle up from, I believe, L.A. or San Diego, and he was there. And I said, "Sergeant Galatia," I said, could I just get a picture of you by the statue? And he said, "Yeah." And I thought he would just go up there and just kind of pose, just
the way you do.
Yeah. He went up there and he put his arm around the statue, with his arm around Dan Brown's neck. And he said, "I just want to tell you, buddy, how sorry I am." He said, "It should have been me." And I myself and another guy heard him say that, and I tell you what, I just about lost it. And Sergeant Galatia just turned around. He backed off, turned around, saluted him, and then left. And so I shot that picture of him with his arm around there, and that won photojournalism. It won the People's Choice Award. And the next one I shot was last year. It was at the Boise Veterans Cemetery in Boise, Idaho. And there was I guess it was a widow or a daughter of one of the veterans. The tombstones were kind of lined up, but they came to a V just because of the nature of the picture, not
right.
And so the lady, the widow or the daughter, was there, and she was kneeling down, and she had her sunglasses on, and she's there, and I shot all the tombstones on the side, and she's right in the middle, and she's kneeling down in front of it. And I did shoot another picture of it, which I will probably enter next year, the same lady, but it's a close-up of her hugging the tombstone. And I like to shoot pictures. I shot a lot of rodeo pictures. I mean, bazillion. Everybody enters, their grandkids and rodeo pictures and stuff. But I like to shoot. I love shooting military pictures with the emotion.
Yeah.
because I've been there.
Yes.
You know, and you know, somebody said, "What'd you get your Purple Heart for?" I said, "Which time?" I've got 3 of them, and somebody said, "Well, which one hurt the most?" It was the broken ones that hurt the most. It's all them girls who rejected me. You know, like Heidi Klum and Angela Jolie.
They had their opportunity.
They had their opportunity, you know. So, and I did marry a really beautiful gal. Everybody says she's she looks like your daughter. She's not. She's my wife. She looks like 20 years younger. And people say, well, you were 33 when you got married and she was 30. What took you so long? I said, well, anybody sorry enough to have me wasn't good enough for me.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I love photography.
That's great.
My you got to take about 100 pictures to get one good.
Yes.
But I know what I like. I like to shoot the emotion. I like to. I've shot some pictures of cowboys praying behind the bucking chutes. That's what I like. Anybody can put their camera on sport mode and shoot like 10 million frames in a second.
Yeah, that's right. And then hope there's one in there. Yeah.
Well, I like to shoot the emotion. I really do.
Yeah.
And I like shooting dogs too, and pets and horses, and
that's wonderful.
I just like them.
We promised before we went to the break that you were going to tell a story.
Oh,
and
okay.
And let's not lie to people. Let's tell the story.
Well, here's the problem. Preachers, we do not lie, but we do embellish and exaggerate a lot.
Just every now and then, for illustration purposes.
Illustration, okay. So Russ Weaver, he's an Assembly of God rodeo minister, and he's out of Texas now, and they do a show on RFD TV. Susie McIntyre, Reba's sister's on there quite a bit singing. So Russ, before he was doing the TV deal, this was 20 years ago. We're at the national finals, and we're doing the Cowboy Church. So Russ comes out, and he sees 25 cents laying on the carpet or something like that, and he says, "Oh, what can you buy for 25 cents?" So he takes that 25 cents and he puts it in a one-arm bandit, pulls it down, and ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, and he wins $100. He's looking around, and, hope none of my congregations, hope nobody sees me. And I have.
He wouldn't have been the first, by the way.
And I have of course, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
So they say.
Yeah. Well, what happens in Vegas needs to quit.
Yeah,
okay?
I agree with you.
Another friend, Jim Green, was a professional gambler. But
really?
Let me tell you something. He studied gambling. He wasn't. The reason he was a professional, he studied mathematics and other things.
Yeah.
He won quite a bit of money, and people said, well, how'd you feel about his gambling, even though he was a Baptist? And I said, well, he was tithing to me. I liked it. and of course, people say, well, do you play the lotto? No, I don't. I contribute to the Idaho School Building Fund after it gets over $250 billion. I give them $1.
There you go. There you go. That's only fair.
But here's the deal. You know, it's not going to make me or break me, and I don't care. The other thing is, too, if you're Baptist and you don't buy the $5 ticket on Aunt Hattie's quilt for the raffle, you're frying in hell.
Yeah.
You know,
that's right.
So I'd rather have that $250 billion and not drive down the road in my Rolls Royce thinking what I'm going to do with it.
There you go. That's fun.
It's like, you know, these cowboys, they'll pray, Lord, you let me win and I'll give you the glory. But give me the money in the buckles.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Did you grow up in Idaho?
No, I actually grew up in. I was born in New Orleans, and crawled out of there when I was 2 or 3, and lived in Baton Rouge, outside of Baton Rouge at Greenville Springs, which is now part of. Be like Henderson is to every other place.
Yeah.
But I wasn't raised on a ranch. We lived in a one of the first subdivisions out there. It was one of those kind for low income people, and so we were low income. But I wanted to rodeo, and there were farms around us, and people had horses, and I just wanted to be a cowboy. But I like steer wrestling. I just wanted to bulldog, you know. And that's people say, well, what is that? And it's basically you jump off a good horse onto a bad steer. You know, and you got a hazer keeping him in, and you throw him down. That sounds simple, but there's a lot of technique in there.
I mean, bet there is.
It's not the strength as much as it is the technique. And so I was a guy down the end of the street. He had a big enough lot where somebody gave him a Shetland pony, and he didn't want to really ride him. I would set in this vacant lot a 55-gallon drum out in that vacant lot, and I would run that Shetland pony by there, and I'd jump off on that 55-gallon drum, and I'd pretend I'm throwing it to the ground, and my nose would get busted, my eyes and everything. So this lady went and told my mom, these two gossipy old ladies across the road from us, says, "We think your boy's touched in the head, Miss Branch. He's wrestling a 55-gallon drum, beating himself up." My mom said, "Well, yeah, he's kind of different. At least he ain't in jail." You know, that's what I just.
And that's how you got started in the rodeo.
And then I entered my first rodeo in the 8th grade. Bucked off a bareback horse and literally got knocked out. That was a bad concussion. Almost strained my neck, broke my neck, and then through high school, you know, I've had a collapsed lung, bruised kidneys, and everything. And then college, I'm not a great rodeo cowboy. I mean, I just don't have that coordination. My muscle memory forgets a lot real fast. It just goes blank. And
that's funny.
But I enjoyed it. And this is what I tell people. They say, well, how much do you ever win? You know what? I never won $1 million.
Right.
But I had $10 million worth of fun, made $100 million worth of friends, and got priceless memories.
Oh, that's great.
And I just like the cowboy culture and stuff. And, of course, that kept me out of med school and flight school and being president, wanting to be a cowboy, but that's okay.
It worked out.
It worked out real good, especially for the country, me not being president.
That's great. That's great. Pat, we need to take another brief break, and then we're going to have a final segment, and we're going to talk about Christ and a little bit about your testimony when we come back. Stick around. We'll be back with Pat Branch right after these messages.
Drawn by the lights, glamour, and opportunities in Sin City, they come from all over the world, searching for their chance to be a pretty woman, a success, or maybe just to have a better life. Be somebody. What happened after they got here is literally changing the world. From the story of Tommy Scott, a former gang enforcer turned Christian evangelist, to the Hookers for Jesus Outreach Ministry, to the heart-wrenching story of Arturo Martinez, and his heroic act of forgiving the man who assaulted and murdered his wife and 10-year-old daughter. Las Vegas Tonight presents an extraordinary depiction of Las Vegas as a city of transformation, from Sin City to Vegas Saints. Las Vegas Tonight, from Sin City to Vegas Saints, a collection of true stories of transformation, people whose lives were transformed, and people who are now transforming the world.
Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. We're pleased to have with us Pat Branch, who is here with the National Finals Rodeo this week, right here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Been here for 20 years, we figured out, and what a wonderful thing it's been for our town. And we hope that it's been good for the rodeo, too, and its participants.
It's been good. It's fun. I stay here all week, stay at Susan's, and it's been wonderful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of activity goes on for Christians here. There really is.
Let's talk about that, and let's first back up a little bit and talk your testimony. When did you come to Christ?
Well, I was raised in a religion, but not a relationship.
I understand.
And I went to a religious school, and I don't need to mention the denomination, but I was raised in a religious school, went there for 13 years. It should have been 12, but I spent 2 years in the second grade. And the second time in the second grade was when I learned to read and write. And of course, this is a true story. My daughter found my report card and had on my report card, I can't believe my teachers didn't like me, Sister Mary Rambo, and had on there, waste time and annoys others. Me, when I was annoying others, I was not wasting time, okay? I was building character into those people. And the other thing is, I actually thought I was going into politics till I found out poly means many and ticks is a blood-sucking parasite. So I wasn't going to do that. Then it says does not do homework. Hey, I've been in school all day working. Why should I go home and work? You're not paying me.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
But so I went to religious school all my life, and barely escaped out of there. And I think I was last or second to last in my class of 150. But I knew there was something that was missing.
Yeah.
I knew a lot about religion, but I didn't know the relationship because I was looking at it from a legalistic standpoint of don't do this, don't do that, and on Fridays, jump in the box, get your sins. If you don't confess them, you're not saved, and on and on. And then I went to LSU for 2 semesters. The last semester, some reason they asked me to leave because they said your grades are important. I didn't think they were. I think everybody ought to get a participation grade.
That's right. Yeah. Give you a trophy just for showing up.
Yeah, just show up. I did show up for class. But I joined the Army. That was my choice. I wasn't drafted. I was trying to get into flight school, become a warrant officer, but to be honest, my math scores, I always say math, not even once, and they weren't good enough, and I became a crew chief, which a crew chief gunner on the Huey helicopters.
Right.
And I went to in the Army. I was stationed in Korea 8 months with 2nd Infantry, 2nd Aviation Division, and then me and my buddy Larry Jacobson from Kenmore, North Dakota, decided we're going to Vietnam. This is literally true. I put in 4 1049 transfers for Vietnam, and they wouldn't send me. The last one I put in, I wrote to Pentagon. I said, you either send me to Vietnam or send me home. 19 days later, I was in a Special Forces camp in Okinawa.
You got their attention.
Getting retrained.
You got their attention.
So me and Larry and when I got to Vietnam, said we're going to put you in a Special Forces aviation unit. Well, Special Forces didn't have their own aviation unit until 160th Night Stalkers came about during that fiasco in the desert years ago.
Yes.
And now they've got the 160th Night Stalkers Special
aviation group,
aviation regiment.
Yeah.
And so, but we supported Special Forces. We supported the South Koreans, anybody else. And then as a helicopter crew chief, you're a high-class door gunner and a low-class mechanic. That's what I call it, you know. But so you flew a lot, and then I know this. I don't think I was saved at that time, but I asked God. I said, God, put me in a good unit. Just get me in a good unit.
Right.
And so I went to 48th Assault Helicopter Company at Ninh 40 miles above Nha Trang. And in January of 70, I was asked to go before a review board to apply for Outstanding Soldier Crew Chief of the Year. And I went in there and told them my military experiences in politics. they asked me so many questions, and I answered everything. And so won Outstanding Crew Chief of the Year. And
wow, congratulations.
And so that was something and I'd been Soldier of the Month 3 times in Korea. And it's something I just had to prove that I could be. I wasn't good in academics, but I could be a good soldier. I wasn't good in math, but I knew about politics and current events.
Right.
I kept up with that a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember him asking me a question on the board, said, "What is the current rate of unemployment in the United States?" And I looked at him and I said, 6.2%. And these sergeants and generals
said, "Is that right? Is he right?"
Everybody looking at each other. And finally one guy said, "No, it's 6%. I said, "Yeah, but that was last week's statistics in Stars and Stripes." I said, if you'll read today's Stars and Stripes paper, which nobody had, I said it's 6.2%.
I think that won it right there.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was talking about. To be honest. I mean, I was lying through my teeth. Forgive me, Jesus. Oh, well, I was embellishing by 2 points.
There you were. Yeah,
so,
that's funny.
It gave me that, and then we moved up to the up on the DMZ, which was Dong Hai, and we flew into Laos, did combat operations into there.
Yeah.
Lost a lot of men. I was asked to go into the gunship platoon, which was called the Jokers. I said, "No, I'm fine flying utility or ash and trash." And ash and trash is resupply, troop insertion, combat assaults, medevacs. I truthfully say I enjoyed pulling medevacs more than anything else, even if it was under hostile fire. Because with a gunship, you're there to destroy things and protect people. You're protecting others like a SWAT team, but you also blow up a lot of things.
Right.
There's nobody I ever killed come back and say, "Thank you for killing me. Thank you for making my mother cry. Thank you, for my widow," or something. But when you save somebody's life, and you're getting them into a safe area, to a hospital, and they're conscious, they say thank you.
Yes.
And we love the sound of a Huey helicopter. And any veteran out there who's been in Vietnam knows the sound of a Huey.
Oh, yeah.
It's a distinct sound.
Yeah.
So we get up to Laos, and we get into Laos in Lam Son 719, which was a 3-month operation. We lost a lot of guys. We in my platoon alone, which was 26 in that platoon, we had we've got 7 missing in action, 3 killed in missing action. Everybody received a Purple Heart. I got my 3 Purple Hearts and stuff. And I thought, well, the greatest honor for an aviation is to receive a Distinguished Flying Cross. So I got a Distinguished Flying Cross. And then
congratulations.
Okay, what next? I got 13 Air Medals and with Valor. I've got a Valorous Unit Award. I've got a Bronze Star. But it still felt empty. 3 Purple Hearts, and people think, well, you're some sort of hero because you got 3 Purple Hearts. I could have gone home, but I extended my tour because I wanted to be with my men and protect them.
Sure.
It's a band of brothers. And I didn't feel anything, and so I extended my tour, got out the Army, went back home. You're on a flight. 13 hours later, you're back in the States.
That had to
Lewis
be hard.
McCord.
Yeah.
You get out, literally, you go to your transfer station, you're processing out, take your old fatigues off, throw them in the dumpster to be recycled, go take your shower, give you Class A uniforms, a steak dinner, and process out.
And you were
no
done.
Counseling, no nothing. They drive you to the airport and say, go home.
Wow.
Nothing.
Wow.
I mean, there wasn't, I've had a lot of Iraqi and Afghan veterans come up now say thank you because we're getting better care. And the VA hospitals at that time, I'll just be honest, the worst one was New Orleans, Louisiana. It was just it was bad. But and then
did you have PTSD after all of this?
Yeah,
I'm sure you did.
I didn't know it. I had no idea.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who retired from the Navy said, he's got PTSD. And,
I bet he does.
And stuff. And I said, well, no, I don't. Yes, you do. No, you don't. So you tell me that again, I'll kill you. I think you got PTSD.
Not that I'm depressed or anything.
Yeah, and I used to, and before I went in the military, I never drank. I did not even like to be around people because of my dad. Who unfortunately in every family you got people that are alcoholics.
Yes,
and so I got back and I was drinking. I went back to LSU. In there, I said, well, whatever happened to old Jerry Watley? And they said, well, he got involved with that outfit, Campus Crusade. Well, they didn't tell me it was Campus Crusade for Christ. I thought at that time it was a communist organization. Here's Bill Bright, chief communist.
That's hilarious.
So they said, and so I literally went looking for my friend Jerry Watley, and I was going to go beat him up and say, you need to get out of that deal, And it turned out it was Campus Crusade for Christ, and they invited me to some meetings, and I went, and Earl and Judy Carpenter, who with Campus Crusade, prayed for me, and that was back in 71, 72. I'd entered, at LSU, we had the college rodeo. For 2 years in a row, I was runner-up for the all-around. I rode broncs and bulls. Not very good. It's just it wasn't that I was good, as everybody else just wasn't that good. And I
think you're being modest.
I won the calf rope in there, and this lady asked me. She said, "Well, what would you like to do?" And I remember thinking, I didn't tell her this. I just said, "Well, I'd like to continue my career." But in my mind, this is what I wanted to tell her so bad. I said, I would like to be a Christian and have the happiness that these other people have.
Yes.
That was in 1972 in November. In January 18th, 1974, I was at a Campus Crusade for Christ banquet on the LSU campus, and a guy named Ed Burford spoke. Ed had been an Air Force helicopter pilot and did some rescue missions in Cambodia and Laos, and he was also in the horse business. So we just kind of...
I'll bet you were buddies then.
Yeah, we kind of... I said, man, this... horses and helicopters, like somebody said, what more expensive hobby can you have?
Boating.
Yeah, and... So
they,
at the end of his testimony, I think it was Paul Eshelman at that time, gave an invitation, and I accepted Christ right there at the LSU Student Union.
That's marvelous.
And I do remember this. Somebody's walking down the hall, and they tripped over one of and it was marble floors, tripped over an ashtray. This big boom went off. Well, yeah, I'm saved now.
Thinking it's a thunderbolt.
Yeah, and
don't stand next to him.
Yeah, well, it's like getting your Purple Hearts. Let me tell you, your first Purple Heart, wow. You're a hero. Second Purple Heart is, whoa, man. Third Purple Heart is, I ain't flying with this guy. This guy, man, he'll get you killed. Man, don't get anywhere around him. You got magnets in your tail.
That's right. Bad mojo.
Yeah.
Bad mojo. Speaking of invitations, we're running out of time. Pat, I'm sorry to say the hours raced by. But I wondered whether you might address the camera here and provide an invitation to those people who don't know Christ or those who have backslidden and would like to come back to Christ. Take your time and say that prayer, if you would, please.
Let me tell you, you don't have to accept Christ over and over and over again every day. It's a one-time event. One-time event. Invite Christ into your life one time. That's salvation. Everything after that, sanctification. And if you sin after that, you're a Christian. 1 John 1:9. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us of all unrighteousness. And when you accept Christ, and in 1 John chapter 5, it says, I write this that you may know. It says you may know Christ, that you have known Christ, that you're saved. If you invite Christ into your life, you do it by faith. I can tell you all the facts in the world, and the facts are good, but you're going to have to put your faith somewhere, and you have to know Christ. Now, right now, I'm going to just ask you, if you don't know Christ, would you just put your faith in him and say this simple prayer with me? Lord Jesus Christ, I am a sinner. Lord Jesus, I don't know all about the Bible, but Lord, I ask you to come into my heart this day, this night. Lord, I put my faith in you. Thank you for forgiving me for all my sins. Come into my heart, send the power of the Holy Spirit, and make me what you want me to be. Folks, I have a good sense of humor and I love to laugh, but there's something that I take very seriously, and that is the blood of Jesus Christ and your salvation. You know, if I die right now, I know where I'm going to spend eternity, and that's in heaven, not because I'm good, but because of what Jesus has done. I'm going to ask you, if you've never put your faith in Christ, just put it in him. Call upon the name of the Lord, and thou shalt be saved. That's what the Scripture says. That's what we ask you to do. Thank you.
And amen. Wow, that was very touching. It was wonderful to have you on, Pat. Thank you so much for coming on. And next year, come by again.
Well, I do. People say, do you do stand-up comedy? No, I just like to sit down and tell jokes. I don't do stand-up. I sit down. I kind of like being like this. You know? I like to lay down and do it even. I tell myself jokes in the bed.
Stand-up is a little too difficult.
Yeah, that's too difficult to me. I hate standing.
Yeah. There you go. Well, God bless you. Thanks for coming on, Pat.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I sure
so appreciate it. God bless you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching Las Vegas tonight. It's been a wonderful, wonderful show today with Pat Branch, and we hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have here in the studio. And as I say, each and every week, each and every episode of Las Vegas Tonight, we close with these important words. When it comes to Jesus Christ, please walk with him. Hello, I'm Dale Davidson. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Las Vegas Tonight. Allow me to take just a few moments to let you know how you can learn more about some of the fascinating guests that I've interviewed. My new book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints, is now available around the world. In it, I profile amazing people who make Las Vegas something much more than just a place to party. These compelling stories often tell of people who came to Las Vegas for reasons much different than the innovative ministries they ended up leading right here in Sin City. Take, for example, Tommy Scott, known as Hitman to his fellow members of an infamous gang in South Central Los Angeles. Tommy was serving time in a Las Vegas jail and contemplating suicide when a couple of pastors visited him in the lockup and led him to Christ. Tommy immediately began studying the Word and has become an on-fire evangelist and Christian author. Then there's Annie Meadows. Annie began life in a rural part of Kentucky, increasingly was fascinated with the occult, and eventually became a full-fledged witch. Rejecting anything having to do with God, she angrily vowed never to attend church or have anything at all to do with religion. Then, like Tommy, she had an encounter with the living Christ and now travels the world as a gospel singer and writes Christian children's books. Pastor Chris Chappell was an avowed atheist who also wanted nothing to do with the Lord. He was a successful businessman who felt he surely didn't need Jesus. His wife and father-in-law convinced him to attend church, and he felt a stirring that made him investigate the Bible's claims. Telling the Lord that he needed answers to his objections, he found those answers in a supernatural way and is now leading a remarkable church, Casa de Luz, in what's called the Naked City, which is a neighborhood just off the famous Las Vegas Strip. This formerly crime-ridden area is now experiencing a remarkable turnaround, and his church is serving that community in amazing ways. Doc Jones traveled to Las Vegas from New York on a personal mission to make as much money as he could. A born entrepreneur, he started a photography business that specialized in taking pictures of groups of partiers at the hot nightclubs on the Strip. He then learned that by referring young guys to the city strip clubs, he could pick up lots of cash from the club's owners. That evolved into sending young women who were wannabe strippers to these so-called gentlemen's clubs, and then he managed their careers. Eventually, he felt so empty and despondent that he too thought seriously of suicide. Hearing a sermon about the prodigal son caused him to dedicate his life to Christ. Now an exceptional musician and composer of gospel rap, hip-hop, and spoken word genres, he is helping change Las Vegas from a place where sin abounds to a city where grace abounds more. Pastor Clegg Seth was an aspiring actor and screenwriter in Hollywood and a strong Christian who wanted to make a real difference for Christ in the entertainment world. But the Lord called him to establish a crisis hotline for runaway teens who were coming to Hollywood to pursue their silver screen dreams. He then started halfway houses for men and women with substance abuse and other problems. He also helped set up a similar men's home in Las Vegas. At one point, he developed a gambling habit, but the Lord delivered him from that problem, and he now devotes his life to sharing Christ with men in prison, serving seniors in a church setting, along with visits to nursing homes and hospitals. He has continued his quest to influence Hollywood through a ministry called the Christian Studio. I personally really look up to Clegg Seth as a model of how a Christian should live and serve others. He truly is one of the Vegas saints. Read these stories and more in this 226-page book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints. You can get your copy in several different ways. Go to my website, vegassaints.org, or order it on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. It's just $15.99 plus shipping. For more information or to make a donation to Dale Davidson Ministries that will help us keep this program on the air, please call 702-480-3989. Or you can write to us at Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara, Suite 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. And thank you so much for watching Las Vegas Tonight.
You've been watching Las Vegas Tonight with Dale Davidson. Send your tax-deductible gifts to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. Or call 702-480-3989. Thanks for watching.
This program is brought to you by the Nevada Chamber Orchestra.
Welcome to social media shows. Have you been watching social media shows recently? Of course you have. We have been live streaming for 4 years across social media platforms. We produce over 70 shows with over 1,000 episodes. In the process, we've helped over 100 creators realize their dreams and start their own show. We give platforms to promote your business. If you are an artist, if you have an event, if you are entrepreneurs, or if you have a story. If you haven't done it yet, go ahead and subscribe and follow us on major social media platforms. And if you have a great idea of a show, join us. Social media shows can help you produce and live stream your own show. Let us help you make your dream become a reality.
Hello, everyone. This is Joseph Skoda with Social Media Shows. Well, I thank all of you for your support through these last several years, and it's been a lot of fun. We've given people a voice they never had before. Now, Social Media Shows is always collaborating with our veterans to help them do things and help out the veterans who are struggling today. And we teamed up with GI Connections, connecting veterans with resources. So please consider helping and donating to this great cause because we're always doing things for veterans. So GI Connections, Social Media Shows, and you is what makes the world a better place. Once again, Joseph Skoda, proud United States Air Force veteran.